Hey guys, Jacob here. This is another 1.8.3 build video for the Division. This build is pretty new to me. This is a little idea I came up with a while ago. It's probably been thought of, it's probably been made, but me personally, I've never really used it. This is the FireMark Hybrid I decided to make. As you guys can see, it is a three-piece Predator with a two-piece Fire Crest and the Ninja Bag. This is a combination I've never really used at all, but I was thinking of maybe, this was a status effect type build to put people on status effect, and it is combined with the house and the urban NBR and the sawed-off shotgun. This is not the prototype. This is the Mark II version. The Mark III version is the final once I fully get all the roles correct. So this is the version basically how it's going to be based on. I'll get right into the weapons. I'm using the house with 21.7 base damage with deadly, vicious, and card counter. If you want more damage up close, use the deadly and responsive one. So that way you hit your damage 10% when closer to 10 meters to a target. But I'm using this since I want a little bit more crits, and I'm sacrificing a little bit of crit chance on some of the pieces. Deadly for the crit damage, and card counter, which is standard on all houses. The mods I'm using on this are a pro sight with crit damage, crit chance, and headshot damage. Extended mag with magazine size, rate of fire, and crit chance. Small grip with crit damage, stability, and optimal range, and allow vent break with crit damage and crit chance and headshot damage. On the scope, you could use the C79 scope, or you could use the rugged if you want more crit chance. But I guess the C79 is pretty much the same thing as the Pro, but some people have a little more preference. If you want more crit chance on your SMG or on the muzzle, my bad, use the Tyrant Suppressor. But I think the Loud Vent Break is way better than the Tyrant Suppressor. You could also get crit damage on your mag, which I'm currently not using since I'm sacrificing a lot of crit chance, like I said. But if you want more crit damage, use this mag and you'll have 4% extra crit damage. Now, the Urban MDR is hitting at 50.2 base damage with Adept, Responsive, and Distracted. If you guys don't know what Distracted is, your damage increased by 18% to target with status effects. Like, this is a status effect build. That's why it's Predator and Firecrest. Adept, using a skill, increases your crit hit chance by 7% or 7.50%, my bad, for 15 seconds. And Responsive, damage increased by 10% when closer to a target within 10 meters of the target. So this gun is pretty good with this build for close quarters. It's a little hard to do, so that's why I might actually flip this and put prepared on it, or flip it and put something completely different, because it's kind of a bitch to use this in close quarters, especially when people are right in your face. But I'll get into why I still use this gun in close quarters, because of the combination of the build and the pieces I'm using. The mods on this weapon are a pro sight with crit hit damage, crit chance, and headshot damage. A large FDE suppressor with stability, crit chance, and crit damage. Small grip with stability, optimal range, and crit damage. A heavy mag spring, yeah, with 20 bullets in it, or 20 rounds, I could say, with crit damage, crit chance, and 10.50% rate of fire. This gun is strictly just to hit someone really hard and really fast, basically, because this gun does hit at 50.2. So when you combine the burn and the bleed together and you hit them with this, you're actually going to be hitting them for a lot of damage. Especially when you drop your turret, you're going to proc Adept and hit them for more crit chance and be able to burn them down pretty quick. Now, the sawed-off shotgun, which has self-preserved, predatory, and determined, to get your ult back, and when someone's on the ground, you can smack them, or if you kill an NPC, you'll get your 35% health regen over 20 seconds. If you want to get your ult back a little bit quicker, use the cool-headed determined pistol. I know a lot of people ask about this. Why is it blue? That's because the requirements on the talents are lower. If you look at the sawed-off, you'll see that it's 3,000, 2,000, 3,000, and the last one's locked or unlocked because it's in the free talent slot. But they're pretty high on some of these. And cool-headed is easier to get on a blue pistol, and determined is easier to get on a blue pistol, since the requirements are only 1,000. Now, the pieces I'm using are a Predator Mark vest with health, enemy armor damage, and ammo capacity, and stamina. 2 stamina skill haste mods. On the mask is rolled for a crit chance, firearms, and bind def resistance. And the mod is a electronic skill haste mod. On the knee pads, which are Firecrest, are rolled for electronics, enemy armor damage for NPCs, and also for players. A lot of people say it doesn't really do much. You could roll crit damage, but since this is a support build, I want to have a little bit of enemy armor damage just to hit NPCs as well. So that way I can burn them down a little bit quicker, because you are pretty squishy with this build, and when you get hit with this, it's going to hurt. Disrupting resistance, disrupt, and bleed for the miners. The mod is a electronics 3% skill haste mod with a 4% turret damage mod. Now the backpack is the ninja bag rolled for firearms, crit hit damage, burn resistance, a stamina skill haste mod, and two 4% turret damage mods. Now the gloves, which are a pain in the ass. This build is kind of at the moment, at the time, I guess you could say, I was trying to make this a PvE build and combine them together. So it's rolled for firearms, SMG damage, enemy armor damage, crit damage. I wanted to get skill haste instead of crit damage, because usually the person who's going to be running this with me, or someone who runs this with me, has a pulse. So I really don't worry about the crit damage as much and the crit chance, but I try to get as much as I can. So these are the gloves I got. I had to, this is what I'm working with. These are the ones that I guess I'm going to have to work my way around. That's what I had to do. So sorry about that. If you guys get gloves that have SMG damage, enemy armor damage, and skill haste, those are the ones that I'd recommend. But if you want the crits, use SMG, crit chance, and crit damage. Now, the holster is rolled for all stats with a 4% crit chance roll on the major and a 4% turret damage mod. That's about it for the pieces. I'll get into the abilities. So you guys can see I am running the Overdose, 112,000 HP. It's not a crazy heal like some, like a 10k Tactician or a 10k Reclaimer with your Overdose. I guess you could use something like the Defib if you're in a team. So this is a team-based build, but usually we have a Reclaimer. So at least me and my friends do, and they usually run the defib, or a final measure usually runs the defib. And as you can see, the self heal on this is pretty low compared to the overdose, so I need a decent heal to keep myself alive. If you want more damage, use the booster shot if you really want more damage. If you're fighting Pred, you could get rid of the overdose and use an immune station, but I think someone else in your group should have the immune station. Same goes for the pulse, because if this pulse is pretty low, if you use pulse mods, you could get this pulse up way higher and have a little bit more electronics. But this is not a pulse build. This is a fire turret / stats effects build. And I'll get into the fire turret now. I'm using the fire turret since this is a status effects build, and the damage is 5,000. If you combine this with the bleed, which is the original bleed from Pred, if you guys don't know what that is, I will show you. And tell you guys about that. The damage is 5,000. Like I said, it's low. The health is 160,000 HP, and the cooldown is 49 seconds. That's why I try to get skill haste where I can, and it's where it's missing on a few pieces. But I'm still making this build work. Like I said, this is the Mark II version / the prototype was the Mark I. This is the Mark II, and the Mark III will be the final once all the pieces are complete. And I may or may not do a final build on this, since you guys already know what you're supposed to have, so you guys can just complete it or make it the way you want it. But this is currently how I'm running it. The talents, which may have saved, which looks like they didn't, I usually use critical save, which is used to make it during low health, increase damage resistance by 20%. Since you're so squishy with this build, when someone's shooting the shit out, you can pop this and increase your damage resistance by 20 seconds. Or, my bad, 20%, not 20 seconds. Combat Medic, which should be on all builds, personally, at least I think it should be. Use a medkit to your allies to heal group members and proxies within 20 meters by 40%. The ones that did not save, which is Wildfire, applying a burn to any target triggers a 30% chance per target in a 10-meter radius. And the next one is Death by Proxy. Destroy a hostile deployed skill to increase skill power by 20% for 30 seconds. So your talents should look like this, but since mine have a tendency not to save, these are the 4 you want to run. You could also use, instead of critical save, you could use shrapnel as well, so I guess if you combine all these together like this, you could have all 3, or you could have 2 tech, and you could have 2 medical, which is shrapnel. Apply and bleed to any target triggers a 30% chance, each target in a 10-meter radius. So I think these work really well too. It's kind of hard for me to decide, but I think Shrapnel for the bleed works really well, and Wildfire and Death by Proxy for the turret, and Combat Medic for your teammates. I'll get into the character sheet, which will not be the last thing, but you guys can see the crit chance is 50% and 120 damage on the SMG, and 62% headshot damage, and the survivability is 403,000 toughness and 274,000 max health. Armor is 7,000. And I'll get into the skill haste and skill power, which is 15%, and 138,000. I wanted to get it up to at least 25%, but I'm missing a few pieces, like on the vest, on the gloves. You know, as you can see, it's 6% MER damage and health. So I didn't get skill haste on it, sadly. Same goes for the gloves. I didn't get it on the FireMark holster. So if I can get another holster or flip this, if I can get another fire crest, I will try to flip these around and get them so I can get a pretty higher skill haste. But that's what you're going to try to get, as high skill haste as you can on a few of these minor rolls if you can get them. But that's going to be about it for the character sheet on the house. Now for the Urban MDR, which is the last weapon. 16% crit chance, and you also have a depth on it too, so you got to count that. And the crit hit damage is 106, and the headshot damage is 101. That's about it for the weapons. Now I'm going to go over Pred and Fire Crest on the pieces. When you run the 3-piece Pred, you're going to get the set bonus 2 of 10% reload speed. The set bonus 3 is assault rifle and SMG damage by 8%. Set bonus 4, which is the original FireMark, hit 10 shots without switching target. It makes the target bleed for 50% of damage already done by those bullets. So this is the, I guess, the 4-piece. You know, everybody usually remembers. The 6-piece is the newer stuff that was added in 1.8. But if you played back in the day, this was the main Pred that everybody used to run, was the 4-piece. Now the Fire Crest, which is set bonus. Oh, my bad. Set bonus 2 is 3 incendiary grenades. So when you throw this on the ground and burn the shit out of someone and use your urban, you're going to be putting them on bleed also, plus fire, and plus the fire from the flame turret, which is going to be burning the shit out of them. Set bonus 3 is 50% turret range and 30% flame turret range. So if you're fighting someone and they're running around you, this shit's going to reach out and burn the shit out of them anyway. Plus you're going to hit them on bleed, and then that's nothing if you hit them with, you know, a flashbang or another fire grenade or a shock grenade, just to hit the shit out of them with status effects like this build is. That's going to be about it, guys. Thank you all for watching. As always, I will catch you guys in the next one.